Time blindness. Time blindness. This is an interesting topic. Okay. I don't know that I'm going to do the whole 43 minutes, but I'll get into it a little bit here. And as somebody who has not only grown up with somebody who was not diagnosed with ADHD, but certainly acted as though he had it, and also as a mom of somebody who was diagnosed as high performing autistic, and had to advocate for the IEP and the modifications throughout his K through 12 experience. Let's go.
Didn't say that. Yes, I did. That's what I've been saying from the jump. I've literally been saying that.
Unto themselves. Of course, not purposefully. But about a week ago, a TikTok with the title Workers' Rights was posted, and it now has 4.5 million views and has caused controversy around this country. Okay, let's watch it.
So I just got yelled at for asking a very reasonable question. So I'm applying to go somewhere, and I just wanted to know, are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time?
So I'm gonna stop the video very, very quickly, just because I feel like a lot of people are gonna be confused off the bat. When I recorded this video for the first time, I kind of let the whole thing play, but I feel like
Marianne was already on the show. Is this a react one?
it is worth it to at least get an idea of what's going on here. I'm sort of learning about this drama as I tell you, so hang on. So this girl is applying for what I assume would be a university. I'm assuming she's trying to apply to colleges. She's on the phone with someone from the college, and she asks the...
Please, Kaya not knowing how to swim won't keep her out of the water. It will just leave her on...
Hassan. This is where he displays that he has ADHD, because he can't stay on topic. This isn't a time blindness issue for Hassan right here. He sees comments, he can't help himself from reading them, and he just immediately distracts from the topic that we're supposed to be watching, right?
Prepared for when it happens. Please give her the skills to protect herself. You have a wild take on this. Yeah. Please! Except, I've had dogs before, and also on top of that, my brother's dog as well is just fucking objectively terrified of the water, so she doesn't go in. I would rather have a dog not be excited to go into the water. And I did.
Dogs naturally know how to swim. I've never heard of dog swimming lessons before. Come on now.
I didn't even say that I will never put her in the water. I said that I might. At least in a different place and not in my own backyard. Because I do not want her to go into that body of water.
He probably thinks that, it's going to dirty up the pool, right? But I don't know why we're talking about this when we're supposed to be covering the time blindness girl, right?
Because I do not want her to go into that body of water for multiple reasons. There could very easily be a situation. Don't do it for yourself or Kaya's safety. Do it to calm my mental illness.
Come on now. Move on.
Question.
Are there accommodations for people who struggle with time blindness and being on time? And then the person I was with interrupted and acted like I was asking something else. And then when we were done, they actually started yelling at me and saying that accommodations for time blindness doesn't exist. And if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. Now this video, of course, blows up, but the big reason that it's blowing up so much, of course, is because there are a lot of people making fun of her for using the term time blindness and being upset that a college wouldn't offer accommodations for time blindness.
I'd like to know the ages of the commenters. Are these boomers? Are these Gen X? Are they millennials? Are they Gen Z? Because millennials and Gen Z have done a lot to transform the workplace. And first of all, I don't think time blindness is an actual thing. I mean, maybe it is. I'm not a mental health professional. But there are plenty of opportunities to do things on your own schedule. Like, if she needs to get her degree on her own time, then she could go to, like, the University of Phoenix and take all her courses online, right? She could take it at her own pace. So, yeah, there are accommodations for time blindness, but you still have to get the work done, girlfriend. There are jobs that are flexible. The last corporate job that I had, as long as we were in the office by 10, I usually showed up at 9 a.m. in the morning and worked until 6. But my two colleagues showed up around 10 and would work till 7, right? So we had somewhat flexible schedules. She can become a consultant depending on what her skills are. She could work as a 1099. If you're a 1099 contractor, then you set your own schedule. So obviously, yes, there are plenty of opportunities to be a little bit more free with your schedule. But to try and chalk this up to time blindness, that's just being very self-centered and disrespectful. Okay, so you can't make a meeting? You can't collaborate with your peers because you can't be on time? That's not going to work. I mean, there are certain things that you're going to have to show up on time. And it's considered pretty rude and disrespectful if you're late. And most people I know in a working environment, if you're not there within the first 15 minutes, the meeting is canceled.
And so we will look at the comments. We'll see, whoa, this lady has the same name as my mom. I found this article on time blindness written by my mom. What's up? So, of course, there's a lot of people who sort of scoff. They scoff at this video and they go, this girl wants accommodations for being late to work. And that's like the general consensus of most people, especially people who like aren't very online in the world of Zoomers who are neurodivergent. And I am a neurodivergent Zoomer. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 14. I've been medicated since then. And I am someone who has received special accommodations for my ADHD when I was in a university. Which means I have the right to talk about the true take you should have on this opinion. There is no, like, true take, okay? We'll get to it. I think there's goofy parts about this story. I think there's parts that we should touch on. But let's start with the...
What?
Zoomers, dude.
What now?
Fucking Zoomers, dude.
time blindness thing. A lot of people are confused about what time blindness is. It sounds silly. I don't blame you. Let me try to explain, at least from what I have read, what this is. So time blindness is a pretty popular symptom of ADHD. It also exists pretty rarely in neurotypical people. But people with ADHD, of course, have been studied and proven to have a problem with the perception of time. It's really difficult for people who have this symptom to be able to tell how long they've been doing something for, how long they have left on a certain project. I mean, there's plenty of symptoms for it. Of course, this article do your own research or whatever, but time blindness shows up in a bunch of different ways. Underestimating, overestimating how much time has passed, chronically missing deadlines or arriving late, even for things that you're excited about, difficulty making a realistic schedule or sticking to a schedule, constantly losing track of time, frequently feeling like time is slipping away. These are things that I think everyone experiences in small amounts, but for specific people, it is a much bigger problem. And it doesn't just necessarily boil down to someone being inconsiderate of others' times. That's never really the intention with people who have symptoms of time blindness. And I know you're starting to get bored, okay? I'm teaching you about science and stuff. But yeah, basically the idea is that, universities can give accommodations to people with disabilities or people.
Yeah, that's why you guys are fucking ableist. Every time you make fun of me for being late to events. Yeah, how do you feel? You know what? I've decided 180% or 180 degree switch on this. I have swapped sides on this battle. You guys are literally fucking ableist for.
That's because you live in LA and you can't evaluate like what the traffic's gonna be like. That's not the same thing. Like you could be, most of us, and I know a lot of people with ADHD. Okay, most of us will pull out our GPS program and figure out, okay, what is the estimated time to get to this location before I get there, right? But Hassan can produce content whenever he wants. He's basically a 1099, right? So he can start when he wants, he can end when he wants. And what this other fella, I don't know who the other dude is talking about is the difference between being distractible and hyper-focusing, which I guess they've grouped into a category now that they're calling time blindness, because there is this hyper-focus element to ADHD, and there's also the distractibility aspect of it. But it's also, once you get into like high-performing autism, then you also have the emotional side of it, of if my routine changes, therefore I'm going to have a complete emotional meltdown, right? I just think in Hassan's case, he's very privileged. He has a job where he can do it whenever he wants. He doesn't have to be on time. He doesn't have to end at a certain time. And he lives in immense privilege right now. And probably a lot of the events that he goes to are not all that important to his career other than making an appearance. And in LA, everybody's fashionably late anyway, right?
Making fun of me all the time for being late. I have time blindness due to my ADHD.
Yep.
That's right.
People who have specific needs that need to be met in order for them to be in the best environment they can be in to learn, I guess. So the only accommodations that I got when I was in college for my ADHD OCD was having more flexibility, choosing my schedule in school so I can be better organized, and I can have my classes right next to each other, so it's not like I have to go back and forth from being at home and going to school all day. And then I'd also be offered things like extra time on tests or a quiet space if I need to take a test and I'm too distracted. Those are the sort of things that colleges can help you out with if you are someone that...
Those were the types of things I asked for in my IEP meetings for my son as well. But also movement breaks. You need to also, with ADHD kids, you have to give them the ability to take movement breaks because they have a lot of extra energy they need to expend.
Does need help with schoolwork or attention or whatever it is that you might need. I'm starting to realize, though, that this original TikTok might be about a job. Originally, I thought it was about a job, and then I'm like, oh, this is about a university because she was saying she was applying to go somewhere. But then the hashtags say hashtag workers, hashtag capitalism sucks, hashtag capitalism, hashtag the system is broken. So, okay, I'm getting a little scattered. Let's get back to the TikTok, and then we'll talk about this.
And if you struggle with being on time, you'll never be able to get a job. provided you're trying your absolute best to be there. And then they're like, your stupid generation wants to destroy the workplace.
So she originally says that she's in the room with another person who kind of cuts her off and asks a different question when she asks the question about the time blindness. And then she goes on to be like, oh, people in your...
I want you to know I'm slowly pulling a ladder up behind me, boomer style. I had it hard. You should too, style, watching this law. I mean, accommodations are great. I think it's awesome. Use it, kings and queens and the emperors. But like I said, as far as this being like a true problem with workers' rights or whatever the fuck she was trying to present it as, it's fucking ridiculous, especially as it pertains to like group projects and things of that nature. I have ADHD. I have time blindness, I guess. I mean, I have trouble keeping...
But it didn't even need to be presented like that. It could have been very simply, I have ADHD, and there are certain limitations to this condition that I will tend to hyperfocus on some things, and I will sometimes get a bit distractible, and so therefore it might affect me in XYZ ways. You don't have to present it as an entirely new terminology that these people have never heard of before, that is kind of just trying to group together these various symptoms of ADHD and put a label on it. This is, this is why, this is like marketing. It's kind of one of the reasons that defund the police, like, crashed and burned so quickly, because the anti-defund the police people were able to just hone in on that particular term right away without understanding what it encompasses, and just be like, well, you don't want a police force? No, that's not what it is at all. It's we want appropriate services, right, that will match. Like if there's a mental health issue, we want a mental health professional to show up, right? If there's an animal situation, we want like animal control to show up. It's about applying the appropriate services. But by trying to put it in a term like that, it could be time blindness. If you can, if you basically start inventing new labels like that can be so easily shot down as, oh, okay, you just want to be late to work, right? There are actual, like I said, you could be a 1099 consultant. You could find a job that has a flexible start time. You can take online classes to get your degree. Now, it's not as valued. Being real, an online degree is not as valued as being able to show your stick-to-itiveness of being able to show up to all those classes on time and get the work done. That is still valued in a different way. Maybe that'll change someday, but that's how it is right now.
Traffic time, but ultimately, luckily we have alarms. Like a lot of alarms, I have 1,000 alarms.
Do you listen to them? Or do you snooze them?
Entirely relevant. I mean, it's entirely dependent on what we are talking about. It's entirely dependent on like what the project is or what the time frame is.
Generation, this and that, and says that the person yelled at her saying that she's never going to get a job if she can't, manage her time correctly and just like be a normal person. But I did hear from someone, and I don't know when this is going to come up. I did hear that person's her mom, and it does make a lot more sense that way, that this is the person's parent. This sounds like a very normal thing that parents would do, right? At least in like our generation, it's a whole thing of like parents struggling to understand the needs of people that understand that they can perform better or be a better student or an overall more helpful human being if there are certain accommodations.
We have alarms throughout the day too. Maybe it isn't as bad as isn't as bad for her as you. I mean, I do, yeah. It's called 30,000 Micromanagers and a regular CF top of the hour ad break segues, which I already gave to you. So, it's not going to happen right now. I gave it to you 10 minutes ago.
That help them out with their disability. A lot of this TikTok is someone who is in a fight with their parent, and that doesn't mean that one of them is right and one of them's wrong, but I feel like it changes a lot of things about how the story is perceived. I just don't think we should be making huge assumptions based off of what we see here. Let's watch the rest of the TikTok, though.
And yeah, I think that a culture where workers are just cut off because they struggle with being on time, when there's other solutions that we can look to, I think that just anybody who thinks it's okay to just treat people like that, yeah, that culture needs to be dismantled. And then I asked that person, how can you feel good about yourself upholding this kind of system? And then to think, I'm entitled. No, if people think it's okay to treat others like this, that's entitlement.
Okay, so the argument dies down. I think probably best to leave it off of TikTok, but, that's neither here nor there. Hindsight 2020. This video is posted and it blows up on TikTok and everyone's just flaming this girl. You've got comments that say, LOL, early to bed, early to...
Here's part of the thing about providing modifications is that, and maybe this is going to be painful for her, part of it is getting extra training on learning how to overcome your problem and start showing up on time. So, it's not always just, hey, we're just going to work around you. Sometimes it's, I'm going to give you functional training so that you fix this problem. I'm going to give you speech therapy, right? I'm going to give you, there's lots of various programs that are available to kids as they're growing up and in college settings that help you overcome your difficulties. And it sounds to me like she's just like, this is just how it is. I'm never going to be able to fix this. And so therefore, you need to work around me. Well, that's not always how it's going to be. Sometimes it's going to be, okay, well, we need to obviously give you some supports so that you learn how to show up on time.
Rise. It's called adulting. Time blindness? Grow up, honey. Millions of others can do it. You aren't special or above anyone. Thanks for my little laugh of the day. Accommodations for time blindness. She responds, says that time blindness is a common part of ADHD. It's not a disability itself. The world is so cold that everyone lacks basic empathy. Just constant comments. Self-victimization will never lead to success. I think...
Yeah, because it's a little bit on one. It's a little bit one of those things where it's like it's a burden, but in certain circumstances, maybe it's your burden to bear. I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a boomer, but as someone who has brain crippling ADHD myself, I just kind of learn, create structures and some level of rigidity. To not make it other people's problems, kind of, you know what I mean? And then it also turns into an issue when people are just like, well, what about wheelchair accommodations or some shit? And it's like, yeah, that's different. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not over here being like, Braille, that's fucking stupid. Like, that would be ridiculous. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's a problem.
We still don't even have good enough ADA accommodations. Like, the entire time I was being treated by Kaiser before I switched to the other doctor, the handicap parking was at least 100 yards away from the front door of the hospital where I would see my doctor. Basically, I don't know how the law is right now, but they have to designate a certain amount of spaces for handicap parking. But I don't know that they necessarily have any laws in place that say how close those spaces have to be to the front of the building. We still have a lot of work to do.
Infinite empathy, except for people who have your things. ADHD, fat. Yeah, I famously have no empathy for fat people. That's why I regularly talk about how fucking stupid fat shaming is. The reality is, you know, the way I see it is almost like, and this will probably get me fucking actually canceled, like the people maybe sometimes taking advantage of the animal service animal situation. You know what I mean? Like maybe you don't need to have one and you're just kind of using it as an opportunity.
I think you're talking about comfort animals, not service animals. There's a difference. Service animals are for actual blind people. Comfort animals are things that are given to like vets and like veterans and people who are struggling with emotional issues. These are different topics. That's a comfort animal, Hassan.
To bring your pet along. And honestly, who the fuck is going to get mad that you've brought a pet along on a journey? A bad person. Which is why, go ahead, kings and queens, take advantage of it. And then similar situation here. It's like if people have accommodations for time blindness, and then take it. It's great. Nice save, I guess. Like, here's another thing. I don't need your fucking approval. Like, what do you mean save? Like, you think I'm afraid? You think there is a planet where people don't fucking clown on every motherfucker with ADHD? Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about? I get fucking clowned on for having ADHD regularly. What save do I think? Do I think I need Gorg Boy's graces? But what were you gonna do, man? Go to Twitter and write fucking ADHD? You write a fucking a Twitter thread about how I'm being incredibly ableist towards those with ADHD? Go ahead, knock yourself out. You'll get like 20 likes on it, and then 1,000 quote tweets dunking on you until you literally.
He spends way too much time getting distracted by the comments in his feed. And he's obviously gets way too triggered by them too. Like, what do you care, Hassan? You're a rich motherfucker who has a huge ass house in like West Hollywood or something, or Pacific Palisades. I don't even know. It's somewhere on the west side, right? Who cares? Why are you worried about trolls in your comments?
Feel embarrassed to walk outside. What do you mean, nice save then? That would be weird. Okay, what am I saving myself from?
Move on. Come on, dude. Sitting there reading all that bullshit. Are we going to finish this video?
I think the other solution is taking responsibility for yourself. Genuinely thought this was satire. The TikTokers are coming after her today. And listen, while I understand how a situation on one hand can, just something like this can look really funny for someone. Like, oh, someone struggles at making it on time to places. Welcome to being a teenager. There's a lot of that, okay? And I get it. I think there are parts of this that come off as a little goofy to some people. If someone tells
Abusive service animal exception is actually a problem for people who really need service animals. All the people with completely untrained, unnecessary emotional support animals has made business in the public generally much more wary to those who actually need service animals. Yeah, no, I know, which is why I think there should be some regulations surrounding it, like your emotional support animal. If you have one, you have to fucking train them.
There are regulations around it. They have different paperwork assigned. They don't have the same type of paperwork for service animals and comfort animals. It's not the same thing. Like, for instance, we had a dude down here. Oh my God, I hate my neighbors. I'll tell you straight up. I can't stand them. During the first year of the pandemic, when they started occupying the pool, if you will, there was a dude that kept bringing a German Shepherd unleashed to just jog around the pool the whole time. And it took a couple of weeks, but finally the HOA told him, hey, you can't do that. You can't be bringing your... It was a comfort animal, according to him. And you can't be bringing dogs to the pool. Especially a German Shepherd. You got kids there. We don't know what the situation is. And even if it's a safe animal, if you will, it could still feel cornered at some point, and that's a big ass dog.
Like 100%. Because there is not a single fucking person on this planet that's like blind or needs like an emotional service or like an actual service animal has an untrained one. They're
trained.
They're trained.
Yeah.
You have to have your emotional service pet trained.
No, I don't know about that. I don't know that the emotional pets need to be trained.
Like, you can't just like slap on a vest and be like, nope, that's it.
I don't think you're right. My mom has a comfort dog, and that dog is not trained. So I do not think you're correct. I think these are different certifications, and they're different levels. And so when it comes to comfort animals, it's a little bit more risky because you don't know if they are really trained to be around children and stuff like that.
Wait, I thought all service animals were trained? No, people fake it.
All right, get back to the video.
I mean, I think all people who have animals should train them 100%.
Dogs. You can't train a
But
cat.
especially people who claim emotional service. There's a distinction in regulation. There's a distinction in regulation between emotional support animals. No, the regulation doesn't surround actual training and like and no, there isn't. There isn't one. You're wrong about that. Like, yes, real emotional, not real emotional. Real service dogs are trained. Of course, they have to be. But for service animals, due to the ADA, you can't really ask what kind of disability someone has or what kind of necessity they have for it. And your doctor could basically write you a script with ease, and then you can just get a vest. And even though people are not allowed to ask you, you can actually have documentation. Training is expensive. Can government subsidize through healthcare? What the fuck are you talking about, dude? I'm talking about people who are like fake getting a fucking emotional service dog vest. I'm not talking about like actual service animals. Hey, guess what, dude? Actual service animals that people need are fucking trained. Like, what are you talking about? No blind person is like, oh yeah, this is my service dog. And then the dog is like running around going crazy, okay? No, they actually do have to serve a purpose. I'm talking for all the people who are like, this is my chihuahua. This is so dumb.
I know, that's why you should move on. You should move on back to the video.
Anyway, we have a doctor's note for our dog that basically makes it so they can't refuse our dog an apartment. I don't have to pay for pet rent. Can't bring it anywhere though. Fucked up for people that bring their untrained animals out. Yeah. You advocated for required training for emotional support? Yeah. I do believe that. Yes, I do believe that. I think that if you have a fucking dog that is going to be out in fucking public and you want to bring your fucking dog to the cafe, to the restaurant, on a fucking plane, train your fucking dog. What kind of bullshit is this? Motherfuckers are like, sorry, I'm neurodivergent and so is my fucking dog. Like, okay, well then you can't have him out there, okay? You think you would come in here? I'm literally a fascist with how hard I train Kaya. You're out of your fucking mind if you think that I'm going to be like, oh yeah, no, you should
Are you training Kaya yourself? Or did you actually hire somebody to do it? Because I think most people will like go to a class, right? And they'll like, you know, have an instructor working with them. Because most people don't know how to train dogs all by themselves, right? Because we used to have a trained German Shepherd when I was a kid. Like back in the 80s. I know I'm dating myself. But he was trained through a class. My uncle took him to the classes and works with him.
your dog run loose and wild. That's why I get so mad when Chad is like, brah, why don't you have your dog out and going crazy, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, yeah. ESAs aren't accepted on airlines. They used to be. And I think that if there was genuine regulation around what constitutes for an emotional service animal, specifically training, you would be able to bring your emotional service animal onto a fucking plane. That's all I'm stating.
It depends on the size, I think, because not service animals, not, for blind people, but comfort animals, basically they have to be able to fit in a very specific size carrier. It's got to be an approved carrier. You have to have all the paperwork. You have to set it up with the airline in advance. I have transported cats across country before, and there's a lot of rules and regulations. You got to show the medical paperwork that they've had all their shots. These were not comfort cats, so they actually had to ride in the cargo. And they were pretty freaked out when they got here, but we got them here.
Which is awesome because I am a big fan. I am a big fan of, having dogs on planes. I think it's awesome. I think there being a service animal and emotional support animal is different. Service dogs go to restaurants and stuff, but emotional service can only fly, I think. It's a lot hard to get a service dog, but anyone can get an emotional support dog. Not really. You still need a doctor's note.
Yeah. Well, you just categorize.
I know emotional support animals are not the same as service animals.
Basically, you're just categorizing your own pet that way. You go to the doctor, you say, hey, can I have my animal designated this way? And they just do it. It's not like, I suppose you could do it that way too. Say, hey, give me the paperwork so that I can adopt a pet to be my comfort animal. But why are we talking about this when literally you've got a video you're trying to cover, right?
I'm simply stating that emotional support animals should undergo training so that they are allowed in the same places that fucking service animals are. Holy shit, why is this such a point of contention? I'm directly explaining the issue that people have.
Fuck's sake, get back to
Didn't say that. Yes, I did. That's what I've been saying from the jump. I've literally been saying that. Emotional support animals are technically the same as service animals, okay? They are. They are doing a service for you. It is offering you emotional support, okay? So, in order for said emotional service animals to be allowed into the same fucking places that your service dogs are allowed to, they should undergo rigorous training. And then once that certification is given, then no one will make an issue of it. And then it's a win-win because every single animal gets to be in all of these awesome places. Oh,
Can you get back to the video, please? Oh my God.
they are not. I'm one of the people who write prescriptions for them. I know they're not. That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. I think that they should be. I know they're not. I think that they should be. That's my point.
God, this isn't.
And then you could actually fucking advocate. You could then actually advocate for, wait, don't ever give me that fucking training is expensive bullshit. No, that's bullshit. You can fucking train a dog. If you have a dog, you should be able to train it. I'm sorry. There is no classist distinction here. I was broke as a motherfucker, and I trained the shit out of my pit bull because I understood that this fucking thing was going to turn into a goddamn gigantic baby eater, okay? And I knew that I had the responsibility to ensure that it doesn't turn into a fucking baby eater. Get out of here. That's crazy. I hate it. I hate everything turns into classism, dude.
Get back to the video.
That's wild. You can absolutely train your dog yourself. That's insane. And plenty of people do that. Actually, the overwhelming majority of people do that rather than fucking go to a trainer. I haven't even gotten Kaya trained by a professional trainer yet, and she already knows like fucking 5 commands. She's already super responsive. It's all literally spending the time and effort.
Okay. Different video. Take her outside. Show us the commands. But right now, can we get back to the TikTok, please?
Now, obviously, I'm in a different financial circumstance now. I work from home. I'm with her all the fucking time. Like, those are obvious amenities, but I trained the shit out of my pit bull beforehand as well, and I was broke as shit.
Oh my God, dude. This is why it's hard for me to watch his videos.
Anyway. I personally train my emotional support animal. He's well behaved in public and around other dogs, which helps my anxiety because I don't want to be yelling at my dog in a crowd full of people. Yeah. I love when people are just like, man, I'm just too irresponsible, and it's kind of fucked up that you're bringing up something so normal and understandable.
I'm going to wrap this up in 8 minutes.
You know? My dad would train hunting dogs at Moe's. Maybe he had a book. They were all trained the exact same way and responded to the same commands. It just takes inclination and knowledge. Yeah. With, by the way, YouTube.
And treats.
Just say train your dog then. ESA don't need service training since they aren't accepted in most places. Yeah, but you don't want to fucking bring an ESA as a service dog into most places? Isn't that better? That's my point. My point is if you have an emotional service animal that is technically providing some form of service for you, if there was regulations surrounding the matter, then you would be able to bring your emotional service animal into public spaces. That's my point.
They already do.
That's simply all I'm stating.
Oh my God, they bring them everywhere. They even bring them into the grocery store these days.
Emotional support animal. Sorry, I'm not emotional service animal. Oh my God. You should do that regardless, though.
Why are you swaying so much, by the way? You're swaying a lot. Are you chewing gum? You got like some nervous shit going on. But the swaying looks very much like intoxication to me. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make an assumption here. Maybe it's the nervous energy from your ADHD. But you're swaying a lot during this video.
you should train your emotional support animals regardless.
Tells you, oh, I want accommodations because I struggle.
We went all around the bush for people to arrive at the point you were talking about in the beginning. I know. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's very, very, very frustrating. Yeah, and the only reason they're not permitted currently under the same fucking guidelines as service animals is because service animals have to be trained. Emotional support animals don't, which is why people are more comfortable allowing service animals to go everywhere and not emotional support animals to go everywhere, because people don't train their fucking dogs adequately in public.
Oh my God, please move on.
But you should do it regardless, for the record.
Fuck's sake.
If you are interrupting the work of a service animal, you are putting human life at risk. Speaking head in a silhouette. What? I didn't say that. Who has said that?
I can't. I'm gonna cut this short, dude.
My emotional support pug who also suffers from severe anxiety should just ... go through training. Yeah, real cool, bro. Well, it literally doesn't fucking matter if you're just gonna have your pug be at home. But yeah, your pug should go through training. Yes. What do you mean suffers from anxiety? You're fucking around, right? What are you saying to me right now? Yeah, you know how you fucking get a dog to no longer suffer from anxiety? Train them. Okay, it is sad.
With perceiving time, with getting things undone. It's really easy for someone to turn around and be like, just use an alarm. And on one hand, sure, we've been given like this infinite amount of resources when it comes to tools that can assist us when it comes to learning or working or socializing or whatever facet of life it may be. Of course, there's still a responsibility on yourself to try to manage that time the best you can to take care of yourself. It's all self-care. It's all for you to be the best person you can be. With all of these, comments not crazy about it, there's a lot of people who have very valid questions, right? People are like, if you don't show up for your job, then someone else has to do that work for you. You can't work at a hospital and just call off work because you didn't perceive time correctly, and now all of a sudden, this doctor has to do a heart surgery. But that's something that's on the extremes. For a lot of this, saying that you have time blindness or whatever term you want to use for it, there are real accommodations that can help with that aren't as crazy as people thinking that she's asking to just show up late to work whenever she wants or, push off deadlines as far as they can go. Now, in a term of like a job, there's only so much you can do because your workers have to be there on time or else someone else has to do that work or else the job doesn't get done. And depending on the job, this employee could cause the entire business to fail if they aren't there for their job. And so in a lot of ways, people look at this kind of stuff and they go, well, I've always had to show up to work on time. Why does anyone need accommodations for something that you should just be able to use an alarm for? And yeah, I get it. I think it's fair to at least ask that. I think it's fair to think that the whole time blindness thing is like silly and you're thinking about it a little too much. I don't know if that's completely fair. I think in a setting like university, it'd be very fair to ask for accommodations for time, and struggling with time in general is something that students could always use, and especially those who suffer with it extra. There are symptoms in ADHD that are harder to control. It's not really as simple as like just telling someone to focus. And of course, this is different when we're talking about something like time perception versus focus, but I still think it isn't the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Animals can have anxiety or PTSD, you fucking idiot. Not always. Shit like PTSD can have lifelong impacts. It can't train a dog or human out of it. Literally rewires their brain. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you have a pit bull with PTSD, like one of my friends had, okay, don't fucking ever put the fucking pit bull outside, okay? That's it. That's it. If you can't train your pit bull who has PTSD due to being like, I don't know, a bait dog or something like that, and that happens all the fucking time, it's wonderful and lovely that you, took care of this dog. But like, just don't fucking take your dog outside like that. You know what I mean? Make sure that you're walking your dog. Like, these are accommodations that my friends had to make for this dog that they were taking care of at the time before he passed. Never having the dog be around other dogs when they're walking down the street. Maybe even having like additional, like a muzzle or something, like an additional accommodation on top of that. It happens. You know, give the pit bull its own emotional support pit bull. You can't do that. The pit bull will eat the other pit bull.
Also, if you have a dog, don't you ever walk your dog around the neighborhood unleashed. You think that's cool? You think it's cool because you know your dog is safe? You don't know if your dog's going to get attacked by a coyote. You don't know what could potentially, like, if your dog might get triggered. Don't be an asshole. Keep your dog leashed when you're walking out on the streets. Okay, Hassan, move
Have you
on.
ever noticed that service animals look miserable and dead on inside? I feel for them. I have not noticed that. I don't agree with you. And also, I don't look at emotional service animals because if I look at them, I will have to pet them, and you're not supposed to do that. So when I go to the airport terminal, okay, when I go to any situation where I'm around a fucking dog that I'm not supposed to pet, I will not look at that dog. Because if I look at the dog, I'm gonna pet it. I'm gonna pet the dog. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm not supposed to do that, so I'm not doing it. I'm not looking at your fucking service dog, okay?
I guess we're not going to finish this video.
I was a community full of motherfuckers that will meticulously craft a hypothetical counter argument to every single thing you say. Holy shit. It's just, you know, is what it is. Petting is brave. I don't give a fuck. If I make eye contact with your fucking drug-sniffing beagle, I'm petting that shit, okay? And especially, if I'm going to jail, I'm petting your dog extra hard. I might as well go on a joyride at that point. I might as well just give a couple extra pats, okay?
Get to
You know?
it. Get to it.
That's how you take down a canine. It would respect your vibes and you would pet it.
God damn.
Yeah, and exactly. Petting them is basically thanking them for their service. So I'm always...
Alright, I have to stop here because the video is getting too long and he's too distractible. Like, he's all over the place, right? And so I'll just... I don't even know if sharing the link to this is even going to be worth your time, because obviously he can't get through watching a single TikTok without like going on a complete side topic. God damn, Hassan. Like, you do content for a living. This is what you do for a living. So why are you dragging it out like this? You could have like separated these topics and put a whole segment together about training dogs as a separate topic entirely. But instead, we can't get through this one goddamn TikTok, right? Okay.